help you?
Just a cup of coffee, please.
Coming right up. Oh, there's no charge.
Thank you.
Here you go.
Thanks again.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Do you want to take a picture taking the soldier? Can I take a picture?
Sure.
All right, smile. There you go.
Sir, my son would like to ask you a question.
Are you a hero too? That man said you were.
I just served as best I could.
Can we take a picture?
Sure.
All right, smile big. What do you say?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Can I get you a refill?
What's your name and your position in the military?
Asa Leckie, and I was 18 Echo, Special Forces Communication Sergeant.
My name is Terry Dobbins Beck, and my position in the military was squad leader for Army Infantry Mortar Platoon.
My name is Kerry Gene Scar. I was a first-class radioman in the Navy.
My name is John Vassallo Jr., and my position when I was in the military was an ordnance officer for grounds weapons and munitions. I was a chief warrant officer.
My name in the military was Donald Impson, and I was a 55B ammunition specialist, which is basically a forklift driver loading trucks with ammo.
My name is Harry DeVoe. I was a combat engineer in the U.S. Army, 1st Infantry Division.
My name's Dave Duran. I was a radioman second class in the Navy.
My name is Peter Hamelink, and I was an electrician's mate second class in the United States Navy.
My name is Derek Green. I was an AAV mechanic, a corporal in the military, Marine Corps.
My name is Roy Moore, and I was a gunner's mate guns 3rd class.
Full Frizzell. I was a sergeant first class, platoon sergeant.
Greg Weiniger. I was an E4 in the Navy.
Your job and your responsibilities in your unit?
My primary job was an instructor. Our primary job was to go overseas and instruct foreign militaries and advise them so that the U.S. doesn't have to send their own military there. The radio systems and message encryption for the team. I was also ComSec custodian, so I handled the ComSec for some of the teams going downrange. And then my last assignment was I was a dog handler, multi-purpose special operations canine handler.
My job was a squad leader of a mortar platoon, so I was in charge of, well, I worked my way up from being a gunner on the mortar to being in charge of a squad that operated the mortar system.
I was in communications. I was leading radioman on various ships, radio shacks, and mainly communications.
And where was that at?
Well, I was on 8 different ships, 2 naval air stations, and 1 NAVCOM stay.
Well, my job was, like I said, an ordnance officer, where I was responsible for all the units' weapons and ammunitions, and plus the men and women that were directly under my charge.
Electrician, an electrician's mate is what they call it in the Navy, and we worked on all the electrical systems on board ship, kept them running, generators, phones, distribution systems, anything electrical on board ship we pretty much maintained and took care of.
The supervisor of a watch section, there was 5 of us, and we, split up duties. Mostly we were teletyping, very little voice communications. I was at the Naval Telecommunications Center in Monterey at the Naval Postgraduate School.
My MOS was a 12C as a combat engineer and a EOD specialist. My responsibilities varied from being a bridge specialist to disarming landmines and clearing and setting up fields.
What is an MOS?
MOS is a nomenclature they use for your job description. It is a numerical and letter associated to a field.
And do you have to take a test or anything to be assigned to these jobs, or how do you get them?
The military goes through your profiling and your test results and suggests MOSs that fit your skill levels.
Loading trucks with ammo, and at the end of the war, we blew things up.
It was they called it a ship fitter. I worked in the engineering department, plumbing department, sheet metal, welding, stuff like that. Ship maintenance. Taking care of my troops. As a platoon sergeant, you make sure that all your guys are taken care of, and from shoelaces to their haircut.
Gunner's mate, 3rd class, and I was captain of a forward 350 gun mount.
AAV mechanic. My responsibilities were to make sure that the vehicle I was in charge of, an AAV amphibious assault vehicle, was always prepared to go out. So that would be like changing out the tracks or even fixing the engine inside.
What kind of things does that vehicle do? What's the purpose of that vehicle in the military?
The purpose of the AAV was to do a from boat to land assaults. So they would carry people from a boat to land, being an attack vehicle.
It was 5 years as an active canine handler, and then 2 years before I retired, I was the kennel operations NCO. I was second in charge of the kennel.
What are some things that canines can do in the military that's different than what humans can do?
Well, our primary role was to sniff out IEDs, improvised explosive devices, and that was our bread and butter. But we also did tracking and apprehension, patrol.
Why did you sign up for the military?
That's an interesting story. I started out working here at the lumber mill, the local lumber mill here, and thought that that's what I was going to do with the rest of my life because my dad worked there. And then after I graduated high school and went full time, I decided I was really not going to get anywhere doing that. So one day at lunchtime, I went home and called up a recruiter and told him to get me out of here.
The reserves when I still had a year of high school left, because I knew darn well I'd be drafted otherwise, because my number was probably going to be kind of low, and it was 55, my draft number. So I joined the Navy Reserve, did boot camp between my junior and senior year, did a first time going aboard a ship and after my senior year, and then went to radioman A school there that fall in '66. 67 and went active in 67 and got off active duty in December 68.
So the youth, what a draft is, or what your draft number actually meant?
Draft, you were basically, it was like involuntary military service. In other words, if you were drafted, you went down to selective service when you were 18, signed up for it, and if they needed you in the military, they would you did a lottery, and whatever your number was, the lower your number, there's more your chance of going.
Can you name?
Well, I pretty much didn't think I was going anywhere locally. I always had a job, never was without a job through my late teen years. But my dad was in the Marine Corps, and so I wasn't oblivious to how the Marines are. And it just sounded like a good challenge.
18 years old, I lived in Michigan, and there was no work to be had anywhere. I didn't come from an affluent family, so college was not an option. And so I joined the Navy.
Boredom and just to see what was going on.
I come from a family of military men. My father was a 30-year man in the military, served in Korea and Vietnam. My brother as well, 7 years in the Marines. I also have other relatives, so it was important to carry that on. And we were coming to the end of a Vietnam War. The draft had ended, and they needed volunteers.
Didn't sign up for the war. I went in the Army because I wanted to see Europe, and I did that. And I wanted to get money for college, and I did that as well.
Well, I guess part of the reason was because I was getting out of high school, had no idea what else I was going to be doing. And the other part was I was actually pretty set on serving my country and, putting my time in.
I signed up in high school on a 120-day delay program, and so I went in right after high school, actually, and I want to fight for our country, but I want to see places too.
Well, I was nearly 21. I was on pretty much of a dead-end street, not knowing what to do with my life, and I had a buddy that was a recruiter and had talked to me several times about joining, and I decided I would join.
I was going to get drafted, and it was during the Vietnam era. I did not want to go in the brush. I joined the Navy.
Initially, I was in the Guard for the college money. I applied to the State Patrol. I didn't make it, but they said if I did 3 years active duty, they would hire me when I came out. So I went to active duty, went to Fort Stewart, and then that's when I was recruited into Special Forces and had to sign up for an additional 6 years. And then 9/11 happened, and that just kept me going, kept me occupied.
So, can you explain to me what Special Forces is?
Green Berets, we are like I said, our primary mission is to go in covertly and train guerrilla forces that are aligned with the U.S. interest. And we are there to support people basically fighting for their freedom.
Things that you were grateful for in your experience serving?
I am really grateful for the discipline that it taught me, and to get out of this place and see the rest of the world.
Friends, my different skills I learned in the Navy. Above all, you learned how to grow up. That's the primary thing. You grew up. Like I say, friendship, got to travel a lot. And that was a big thing. And I liked sea duty. I really liked sea duty.
Oh, grateful for? Oh, I would have to say number one would be the opportunity to meet my wife. That we're still together. Been married for more than 43 years.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I did learn a trade, and it's a trade that I've used my entire life. But friends, I've got friends back from 1980 that we're still in contact today. As a matter of fact, My buddy's been out here from Texas, and I've been back there. So there's been some lifelong friendships. You know, if you think about, you spend 4 years in high school and you have these really cool high school friends. Well, imagine spending 4 years eating, living, sleeping, and working with an individual 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You really build some bonds.
Well, the teamwork was really good, and just seeing different people from different parts of the country, which is, you know, I'm from California, and I met everybody from all other states that different views, but we all worked together. You know, that was one of the things I thought was the best. And then the organization thing, you always learn discipline, which, you know, kind of falls back into your older days when you remember that, oh yeah, this is how to behave.
For the camaraderie, I think I'm grateful for the experience of being able to work with a huge variety of equipment and armaments. Grateful for the self-confidence that they instilled in myself, and just for the training in general.
I was grateful for God's protection, and He took away my fear.
Well, I got to see different parts of the world. It's better here. I don't know, got to see how big ships run. One experience, we picked up Apollo 14 once.
One biggest one is grateful for my life. I think it saved my life joining the military. I was pretty much on a dead-end road of some bad things going on. I'm thankful for the camaraderie that you wind up getting in the military. A lot of friendships were made there, and find out that you're one single person does not win a war or make things happen.
Not being shot at.
Definitely friends and skills, just because some of the friends that I had were pretty crazy, and they actually kept me pretty sane while I was in the Marine Corps. And then the skills I got a lot of skills like diesel mechanics and leadership skills to come out and actually use in the civilian world.
I moved through the ranks pretty fast because there was a lot of opportunity. So that put me on a pay scale and put me in opportunity of special pays that put me on a salary that I would have been hard to obtain. So that provided a higher standard of living for my wife and kids, and just the experience and the people I met and I served with.
What makes this relationship with these military brothers different than friendships maybe with school friends or other longtime friends?
That's a really hard one to define, but when you have such a strong common bind, common goal, common mentality, it just grows tighter than blood, more than a sibling, because you've gone through the same things, you've supported people around you, you've been supported by people around you. It's just a really tight-knit family.
When you think back of your time in the service, what's one memory that stands out most? Whether it's good or bad, just one thing that stands out most to you.
I would have to say the day that Headquarters Marine Corps put out a message that I had been selected for warrant officer. So I was going to transition from a staff NCO to an officer in the coming weeks, coming months after that message was released. That was the biggest thing.
The first one was a cruise I did in 1980 when I was on the O'Callahan. We did what we called a South Pack. Now, the O'Callahan was part of the Enterprise Battle Group, and the South Pack we went on, we were broken off from the battle group while it went into the Indian Ocean. We went to Guam, loaded on what they call Project Hand Class material. which is school books, tools, things like that, that we dropped off at various islands along the way. And we delivered, we went to Truk, where the famous World War II battle was fought. We went to Lae, Papua New Guinea. We went to Noumea, New Caledonia. We went to Sydney, Australia. We went to Suva, Fiji, and then to Pago Pago, American Samoa, and then back to Pearl and back to San Diego.
Wow.
The biggest memory was my time in Korea. It really gave me an appreciation for being in America.
Probably scuba diving in Australia, to be honest with you.
That sounds like a pretty awesome experience. What made you arrive there? Why were you scuba diving there?
So I grew up watching Jacques Cousteau when I was a kid, and I always wanted to learn to scuba dive. So that was one of the first things I did. I got certified when I joined the service, and it was just simply a hobby. It wasn't part of my rank or my rate or anything.
Well, one thing that we did was, which was just at the end of the Vietnam War, the Mayaguez incident, as they called it, which was one of our merchant ships were hijacked. And it was commandeered by pirates, I do believe. So we were searching for this ship. And back in the 70s, there's not a lot of satellites. So we did find it off an island, and rescued it. But that was kind of an interesting thing.
Well, I guess it would have to be that the food and the way they took care of us. Everyone always complained about the food. I thought it was great, and I got to eat all I wanted. The sea rations we had were a little bit rough sometimes, but even those I found enjoyable.
Friendship stands out the most. You make friends that stay with you for life.
I don't know, I'm glad I served. Sometimes I joke with guys that I'm glad I did it. I don't think I'd do it again. The biggest thing, I was married when I was in the service, and that's hard.
National Guard, I took a short duration off, and I came back in approximately a year later. And when you leave as a platoon sergeant, it's hard to come back in as a platoon sergeant, which I did. And I was only in the unit for 2 months, and we went to our annual training, and my platoon out of the entire battalion became the best platoon that year. And so I felt really good, and those guys worked really hard, and I pushed them hard, and everybody really enjoyed that. A remembrance all of them have.
I think when we pulled back into Pearl Harbor after Vietnam, and we all went to attention on the side of the ship, and as we passed a big aircraft carrier.
Definitely got a lot of memories, but I think let's see. I guess it was kind of like a beach bash that we had. Our leadership gave us a little beach bash. Nobody ever really wanted to go because it was mandatory on a weekend. But we all went anyway, and actually we got in trouble. Me and my buddies and I, we did bring a couple drinks along with us, and we weren't supposed to. I think that's about the best memory I got.
Some things that you missed most being away from home while you were serving?
Missed my wife and kids, and missed a lot of elk seasons, a lot of steelhead fishing seasons. That's the drawback.
I missed, of course, my girlfriend and my family, and being able to run around carefree and driving my cars and riding motorcycles. But later on in the military, I was able to do all of that anyway. I was able to bring my car down there where I was stationed. And
what kind of car did you have?
I had a Nova that I ended up drag racing there quite a bit at the local drag strip.
Family was the primary one. but you know, I really didn't miss a lot.
So this was before text messages and
Oh yeah,
phones. How
this was before you know, good old snail mail.
So you'd write letters?
Write letters. Write letters, and the ships would have what they call family grams. They would do a letter, and they would send it to all the families of the crew members. In fact, I've still got a whole bunch of those at home yet.
Oh wow.
Home cooking has got to be one of them. I mean, Marine Corps food is not really the best food out there. Having a hot cooked meal at home, though, is pretty nice.
What other activities or career did you choose after serving in the military?
Well, after I retired, I wanted to do something for myself, so I went to the Clark College diesel program because I was tired of paying through the nose to have somebody fix my truck. So I did that for myself, and that led to a job with the college. I was hired as a lab tech for the first year diesel program, and it was second nature, being instructing again and working with the kids in the college. And then I decided to run for public office, and I won my election. I'm one of the new county commissioners now.
One that had absolutely nothing to do with what I went in for. It was my lifetime passion. I became an automotive mechanic. And a lot of times the job is hard, but then I tell myself after being in the infantry that if I can put up with that, I can do anything.
When I retired, I really didn't use a lot of what I learned in the military, because unless I would have gone into ham radio as a ham radio operator, really, I didn't want to really use what I learned in the military. I did intel photography, but because I liked to play around with cameras at the time.
Well, I didn't really seek out a career. I figured I had put, the Marine Corps basically had to be in front of everything for 22 years. And so I was just looking to do a job that I would be happy getting up in the morning and going to, performing my responsibilities and coming back home without the concern of, oh, we got new orders, we got to pack up and we got to leave and go somewhere.
When I got out of the military, I worked in the oil fields in West Texas as a roustabout, a roughneck, and a driller. I worked there for approximately 8 years, and I came back up north. I worked in the woods for a while as a logger. Then I went into construction and developed a couple companies.
I went into communications for a trucking company, and I ran their teletype room and a mini computer, believe it or not, again. But yeah, pretty much kind of kept with that.
Well, I pretty much stayed within the electrical field.
And would you say that without the military, that probably wouldn't have happened?
It wouldn't have happened. I'd probably be in jail.
I want to retire out of the military, but when I get out, I probably will become a trucker if I can get that CDL. I feel like it's a very good job to have, and I also really like driving.
Construction.
Owned and ran an auto body repair shop, painting and stuff.
Tell me what your definition of a hero is.
A hero is somebody that just does their job every day, no matter what.
Do you see yourself as a hero?
No.
I do. Thank you for your service. Hero is?
It might be different than most people would say, but I think that anybody that helps somebody not for a profit is a hero, in my opinion.
Tell me what your definition of a hero is.
That one's a hard one, because to me, most of your military who go and serve, somebody might want to call them heroes, but they're doing a job. Sometimes it can be a very dirty job, but it's a job that they chose to do. And to me, most of your military are heroes because they're doing jobs that nobody else wants to do. And the thing is, when they enlist, they do a contract with the government up to, that can cost them up to and including their life. And to me, that's what a hero will do. He'll do, irregardless of what his, he'll do things that that'll endanger his life. Firemen, policemen, they're the same way. They're doing jobs that a lot of people don't want to even bother with. But most people don't realize what it all encompasses. That's my idea of a hero. Thank you.
My definition of a hero is somebody that takes action on an issue or a situation without giving it a second thought and without concern for their well-being to help others. Maybe one person, maybe a group of people, but they just, I won't say with, well, for lack of a better term, reckless abandonment. They'll go in and make things better for the people that are around them, that are in trouble.
You view yourself as a hero?
I view myself as the possibility of a hero because I do put others before myself. I'm self-sacrificing. My heroism has been on a low scale, and there may be someday it may be required for me to bring it up a couple levels. But right now I'm happy just taking care of local kids.
Well, are you aware that a major reason we're doing this video is to raise awareness with young kids about the military and about how the military helps and affects the community? If there's something that you could say for the youth or for someone to know about the military, what would you tell them?
I would tell them not to be so resilient against where their parents want. Nowadays, education is very, very, very important. And along with those lines, if you get education after 12th grade, furthering education, and you decide to go into one of the branches of service, you'll be an officer where you will be paid better for the things you will do on a daily basis. And if not only just to go in and learn a trait, see the world, meet bunches of people, make connections, and it may not be a life choice for you, but you will not be disappointed in what you will get out of going into the service.
A hero is someone who is more worried about other people than himself and not afraid and selfless.
I think it has a large array of meanings to me, but probably the most easily recognized one for most people is a person who is willing to stand up against, stand up for somebody against some adversary or adverse situation, regardless of their own safety.
Do you view yourself as a hero?
I don't.
I do. Thank you for your service.
What the definition of a hero is? Who's somebody who does beyond the call to save their fellow comrades. That's a hero.
Do you view yourself as a hero?
No, I'm just a player.
I think you're a hero. Thank you for your service.
That's a hard question. You shouldn't be asking that question. You know, police officers are heroes to me. Firefighters are heroes to me. You know, those folks that are selfless in their pursuits are heroes to me.
Do you view yourself as a hero?
No, absolutely not.
Definition of a hero, somebody that can work past fear and overcome their fear and do something that they thought would be hard, I guess. Putting themselves before others.
Do you view yourself as a hero?
In some aspects, yes. In other aspects, probably not.
Anybody that joins the military, I think it's all everybody.
I think that you're a hero, sir.
A person, regardless of what profession they're in, that serves the community pretty much wholeheartedly and is involved as much as possible with the community.
You are a hero, sir. Thank you for
Well,
your service.
thank you.
Can you tell me what your definition of a hero is?
No.
You're a hero, sir.
There's a lot of heroes. Some save lives and I don't know, do different things. I don't feel myself a hero at all.